The LCS, everybody, it's time to get a few words from our player of the week, and I am joined by Dignitas' Afromu. Afromu, first things first, congratulations on player of the week.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And Dig has been crushing it here in the spring split. Tell me what you think the catalyst might be that brought a 1-3 lock in Dignitas to a 6-3 spring split, Dig.
Yeah, just think we've been coming together really well as a team. We are a young team, so there's a lot to learn, and a lot of scenarios and patterns that our younger players don't know, and you have to learn by getting a bunch of stage matches, experiencing scrims and stuff like that. So I think a good catalyst would be from our jungler, Josh Dardock. He's very vocal about what he needs, what he wants, and it's just translating over into our solo lanes in particular. And he's always usually on top side of the map, so it's very important. Early game goes very well, super aggressive, which in turn helps our solo lanes be very aggressive. And they're really learning how to communicate with, how their lane's going, how they want it to set up, what they need to be successful at every single point in the game. And I think it just has been showing on stage for us, and it's been going very well.
That's awesome, and it answers my next question of how that young team is melding so quickly. We've seen Big change so many times over the last few splits, and it just keeps iterating. This seemed to work out so fast. And looking at your work with Johnson in the summer and Neo now this year, you've been an incredible mentor to young players or any players that come across your lane. What lessons do you try and impart on them to help them grow so quickly?
Well, the first thing is we be at the same level, even though I'm a veteran. It doesn't mean, I'm smarter for the bot lane than, the other person. You have to work together. So it's important you're both on the same level. And Neil, with how he likes to play, what champions he likes to play, tells me how he wants to play, because everyone plays, champions differently. In particular, let's say, Kalista. His Kalista, this dude always wants to fight, always wants to punish every single creep. Whereas, some Kalistas before I played with in the past, it's just like, push the wave, use the pressure and not go for the kill. But he always wants to kill every single moment at the entire game. So it's important we have that back and forth and are able to communicate about that, whether it be whatever champion he's playing. Let's say we need to move him on their map. And I do think the thing I am good at is being a facilitator. So making sure he's in the right spot to perform how he wants to perform. And we've just been doing well on that.
And that aggression is something I want to touch on from the bot lane. Supports seem to be ruling player of the week. It is arguably the strongest role in the game. Lots of talk around top supports in the game like yourself, Core, and Vulcan. Talk to me about why support is so dominant right now. Are all of you guys just amazing, or is it just still that easy?
Hey, everybody is really good at the role, as well as support can just affect the map a lot more in these recent years than before, just because I think since the role has been growing so much and players have been improving, like you have a lot of time whenever you base, after you push a wave, to go affect the map in any way possible.
We expect to still see that domination everywhere from supports, especially with some of the new bot laners coming in. That should make it even more spicy. But before I let you go, I have one more question for you. What are your biggest takeaways from the first half of the split here, and who are you most excited to be facing coming up?
First takeaways, I'm really happy, we've been coming together as a team, getting all this experience that we really need. And just going forward, once you get to the end, everybody improves, at a rapid pace, and the separation from the top and the bottom becomes more apparent. So it's important for us to definitely focus up, keep learning as much as we are. And the teams that we're excited to go up against is, everybody who's in front of us and, right below us. So it could be 100 Thieves, TL, TSM. I think that's all the top four with us. So should be pretty good.
That's awesome. Afro, always a pleasure. As we head to the casters, I want to say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rube and Afro, and welcome back to you for our final game of the day, where Immortals and Dignitas features two mid laners that came up from Academy and now have a full round robin of LCS games under their belt, Crumbs.
That's right. It's interesting because both of these guys came up into LCS from just unsuspecting circumstances. You first had Soligo subbing in for the 100 Thieves, like an import thing, and then you had Insanity subbing in for the Immortals roster that just didn't work out. So now they both have finally gotten the spot, and to see them develop with the given time on the LCS stage, like we heard Afro who said that these rookies need, has been a very positive thing. And in fact, I think a lot of players might have pointed to Soligo as being the bottom of the barrel for the Academy mid laners, but he has been really good. I think out of all the Academy mid laners that have actually entered LCS this year, he might have been the best performing one right now.
Yeah, which is not what we expected, right? We kind of expected Palafox to pick up that mantle, but both these mid laners have been excellent. Insanity, that damage percent's actually wild. He's clearly putting in a lot of work from the mid lane here to try and carry things over for his team. And Immortals have had so many up and down games. It feels like, you know, they're capable of beating Team Liquid, and then they just kind of, like, well, it's capable of losing the Golden Guardians, right? That is a pretty, like, wide gap as far as like play that you've shown on stage. And I think as the league goes on, we'll definitely see teams obviously improve, which is something we heard Afro talk about there that is important for Dig. And Immortals, if they can find some consistency, certainly not out of the realm of possibility to take a win here. In fact, I just never doubt Immortals as a rule. Do I always think they're going to win their matchups? No. But I always believe they can, because that is the kind of team they've shown us to be.
I think they coined that they can beat everybody and lose to everybody, which isn't really the position you want to be in. You want to make sure that there's some teams that do not beat you on some days. So we'll see how they can fare up, because against Dignitas, I feel like this could actually be a matchup where Immortals could really take them down. Dignitas has been looking good, but you heard Afro, the one team they didn't mention at the top was Cloud9. That's because Cloud9 gave him a beating last week. So we saw what the approach was against Dig. It was the Hawkshot Ashe, it was a Tristana in the mid lane that Perkz played really well, and I think Insanity could pop off on a Tristana. He's the kind of player that likes to have high damage numbers, likes to constantly be aggressive, and if you can fit that into the mid lane here, keep Soligo in check, make sure that Dardoch doesn't gank you, you're already hurting the Dignitas game plan that they have gone through so many times.
All right, Azir, Thresh, Kalista, that's a nod to the bottom lane there for IMT. Senna, Seraphine, and Udyr are the first 6 bans. So a lot of bot laners, most notably. And then Azir taken away, probably the most first pick mid laner, at least right now, perhaps the most powerful. And then Udyr continuing to get banned on the red side, despite the jungle changes on this patch. IMT taking their time with first pick. Rel is what you'd expect, and Rel is indeed what they'll select, but are going to take their time considering maybe other options, or just talking about the future stuff. Dignitas on the other side, insta picking Hecarim and Kai'Sa.
So I think they want Alistar as well. The last game they played, they had, I believe it was the same matchup. It was Kai'Sa Alistar into a Rel. So you could also have a really strong dive with it. So you already want a strong diving champion, and you're on red side. So why would you blind anything else when you can just take away the support now that you already see the Rel? So I think that Dignitas is already very confident in what they are drafting. You never lock in champions so quickly unless they fit a set draft that you already had in mind.
I hope this continues, by the way. I hope Immortals run the clock down every single pick, and I hope Dignitas insta-pick every single pick just for the ultimate draft polarization. Insanity, they're not going to run it all the way down. It's going to take Orianna here, which is a pretty safe blind pick, especially with Azir out of the pool. Doesn't really feel like there's much you need to worry about. So we'll see what Soligo wants to take here, or if Dignitas are happy, maybe having Soligo eat a couple bans here, and they'll take something else instead. Because Soligo has to have a lot of different champions prepared, and as you said, they did want this matchup, so they'll take it. They'll have the Alistar once again.
Yeah, you want to lock it in now, not only because you see the red, but because you don't want to have it banned away in the next few rotations. Because if IMT just ban what you want to play into the Rel, it's going to be a lot harder to get out of that lane, to deal with her in the team fights and the roams. We have seen the Janna as an approach to it, but I still think, yes, Janna can be good, but you don't want to be reactive the whole time. It is fairly easy if you have enough CC to layer and just blow up the Janna like we heard from Blabber at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, also can kind of do a similar thing just by hitting W as Alistar, trying to knock Rel away when she goes in. Syndra going to get banned here, pretty expected, given that Soligo didn't pick his champion, and Orianna's already selected for Insanity. Also, the Draven ban's kind of fun for Ace. He did play that one already. Maybe a champion that he's been playing a lot more of behind the scenes. I think something he's probably pretty comfy with, as aren't many Draven players on the LCS stage.
That's why you don't. That's why you ban
away
it
from revenge. Yeah, you just don't know.
You don't have
to take the risk.
When there's one dude that has a champion that nobody else is playing, it's really difficult to deal with. So you just ban it. And if your team, if your academy team doesn't even have a player that you can practice against, because that's what often happens, is you can just tell somebody, hey, do you mind just picking this champion so that we can get some practice against it? But you're never going to hit the same level of skill that these players in the LCS are hitting with these niche picks. So getting rid of it already, just saying we don't want to deal with your shenanigans. We just want standard bot lane, standard everything. We have won so many times like this. And the Zoe will be locked in. So that's already 2 games of Zoe Pastry, one of your favorite mid laners, if not the favorite.
Definitely a good one, and I think pretty good in this kind of matchup, so excited to see this one for Soligo. Pretty expected though. This is one of the reasons I don't like blind Orianna that much, is that like there aren't, like, you can pick kind of whatever you want in Orianna, like not all that threatening. Just on here for Razor is kind of a cool one, so see how that works out. And of course, what else IMT want to take here for Revenge, who does need his pick. Ooh. And Alarm is on the desk, so perhaps it's a present. Nope. Oh, that would be good. I don't know where it would go, but I would like
I would not blind Malphite. I really would not blind Malphite.
Oh,
they can just take Silas.
Vega.
You go Silas, right? You blind Malphite, Silas, this game's over. So let's just see something else from Revenge. Yes, this makes a lot more sense. So blind in the Camille, it's a really solid top lane. But what does Fake God have as an answer? Insta-lock Renekton, and he knew what he wanted.
Yep. Again, knows exactly how the matchups line up. Lots of interaction here. Maybe junglers are going to be coming out, but Renekton pretty good in most situations, can certainly get a lot of play, particularly early up against the Camille. But Revenge will feel comfortable on this pick as well. I think his best games have been on carries. Obviously, his Aurelia is a big notable game early on from this split, but we'll see. I think this is a matchup that in the lane is obviously good for Renekton, but Revenge is going to be a threat as the game kicks on. Both Zoe and Kai'Sa, despite having some tools to get away from things, going to be tough to challenge Camille if she gets on you with the Q2 primed and ready. So IMT sitting at 4 and 5, looking to go even here, and Dignitas looking for win at number 7. Do not want to be dropping down to 6 and 4 here. They take the loss versus IMT.
7 and 3 would be an incredible record for Dignitas, because that already just puts you so far ahead from the teams that have to take multiple wins to get back up to you. But I'm curious to see now the top lane matchup, how Revenge plays this Camille, since she did get nerfed in 11.4 a little bit to the tactical sweep. But other than that, you usually see her comboed with a lot of champions like Galio, or something that punishes a top lane a little bit more. Feels like he's more of an island this time around, so we'll see how good Revenge can be on this carry, since it really fits the wheelhouse of his champions, whether he plays them on LCS or solo queue. When you have players that like to play Riven, Irelia, Jax, throw in Camille, and they pretty much all function in the same way, so I'm not surprised to see him continue to flex his same bruiser muscles.
I mean, Revenge was known for his laning for a very long time, you know, before he even, well before he joined the LCS, and made the decision to not go pro.
And to get out of medical school, of course.
Right. But I mean, like, Revenge has been, like, so good in 1v1s in top lane across a variety of matchups in solo queue for a very long time in North America. So it's one of the reasons it was so exciting that he decided to come back and actually play professionally, and now landing himself on the IMT LCS squad. So Camille definitely in the wheelhouse. Revenge is just kind of gives me the vibe that he's like a very side laney kind of top laner. Like, he joins the team because he has to, although his coach is going to yell at him. But he doesn't want to leave. You know, it's kind of the, I feel like it's the calling of the Riven players. They're just like, I could leave. Or I could 1v1 this guy in top lane. As Xerxes, Destiny, and Raze are regrouping to re-invade their own jungle in case Dignitas are in there.
Yeah, the mindset is you basically just, there's 2 games going on. There's 1v1s and 4v4s in a map of Summoner's Rift for many top laners. And if you're really good at the 1v1, then you can actually kind of play that way for a bit, but the game has changed too much. There's too many objectives to fight. That's kind of why there's the addition of Rift Herald and all these increased dragons and lower cooldowns of camps. There's just too much things to fight over that require the attention of the whole team. So if you're not able to collapse for any of this stuff, you're doing your team a disservice.
I like the idea that Herald was put into the game specifically to make top laners go do stuff. As Neo going to get ignited already. Raze jumping in there. Damage is good, but not quite enough there. And Raze, no explosive shot. Had the rocket jump, of course. Oh, goodness, back in they go. And Neo, what are you doing there? Gets stunned again by the Destiny Flash. And Raze is going to get first blood in just about 2 minutes.
You know what I love about this kill? That the interview with Afro was first saying how Neo is the player that wants to punish every single CS. And this is exactly what IMT did. Goes for the last hit, instant engage. And then, well, after he flashes out, what is he going to do? Well, he's going to go back for CS, and that's where they go on him.
Still had flash. Maybe the thing Neo wasn't tracking, but really good re-engage there for Destiny. And, you know, Rel's not a champion that, like, super good in lane, right? You definitely pick it for mid to late game engages, how powerful her ultimate is. But she'll get you at level 1, which you've seen from quite a few players. This Revenge going to be going on to Fake God. Just barely misses the length on the hookshot dive, so Fake God will not get stunned. continue to get the wave pushing in towards Revenge's tower, but hasn't gotten all the way there yet. Which is very good news for Revenge, although it is pushing back.
He can use that hookshot really aggressively because the Lilia finished in the top side right now, but they now also know that Dardoch should be here. Oh, he's going in.
Oh, gets stunned. Frego actually buffeted it through, and now Dardoch's here. Hello! Revenge says, I don't like this at all, but Xerxes actually here to counter gank, and now Dardoch gonna look for the kill. Should be able to find it, spins around, gets the last auto attack with the rev buff, and Xerxes not going to take any more damage, but still a big chunk of health lost there as Dardoch with a very nice timing in top lane.
I like the first hook, but not the second one. You popped that blast gun and you saw that the Hecarim wasn't quite there yet, but there's nobody in the bottom lane. The top crabs haven't been taken. You don't really know what's happening, so going for that play right there, they saw an opportunity, but still lost it. And now all in.
Ooh! The attack repel with the rocket jump. They found it again. IMT, they get the reset. They're going to get the kill. Surely is raised. He's a little too low. The Ignite's still there for Afro, but Destiny on it again as Neo's got no flash, gets flung over once again, and Raze gets his second kill in this lane.
They can get even
have
more.
Another one. Oh, Afro, he's such a beast. Kicks him back in towards the tower. Destiny, they're going to keep stunning him up, and Raze might have a second kill here. It's close, but it's not there as Dardoch now going to answer the problem. But Xerxes, such a beautiful presence of mind here in the bottom side to make sure that this gank couldn't happen. In fact, Destiny, he's on there. He's going to grab that stun again, but Xerxes got no health, and Raze still farming it up. Destiny, they're going to keep Dardoch out of the picture as Afro is forced to go back towards the tower, and Destiny low but not dead as IMT find 2v2 kills already.
And that Rel is really nasty. She is constantly finding those engages, and like you said, the stun on the rocket jump was just sick. They didn't really know what was happening since they had the heal, but before we look at the bottom lane, let's see this play again, because I mean, Revenge thought he could just one-shot him, right? He hit the stun and go for it right away, but a little bit of hesitation there. I still don't think he would have gotten it. I would have just instead preferred to see them play it a little bit slower, because you have a pushing wave on the top side there, so you're going to be able to double crab the Hecarim from that. Anyways, we're back to the bottom lane, so great stun there to combo him up, but you see that the Kai'Sa does a surprising amount of damage here, so Tristana even forced to flash out and burn the heal, despite Dig not having summoners for that fight.
Well played there for IMT as they do chase on, but we know what happens at the end of that one as the junglers meet and everybody walks away slowly, even in gold still, but a big advantage for Raze early on here despite being down a couple of CS there in bottom side. And I feel like at this point, if anyone is embodying the like feast or famine spirit of Immortals, how they can beat anyone and lose to anyone, it may very well be Destiny, because I feel like his plays are either lowlights or highlights, and when he hits big.
Yeah, the Blitz game is the one that calls to mind.
Oh, yeah.
That was an insane game. When we first saw him, because it was at the beginning of the games for IMT, we're like, wow, okay, Destiny has some crazy moves. He has some not so good ones, but you love to see those aggressive moves, and you really don't want to make someone stop looking for those. Despite those plays going badly, you just want to make sure that those don't go as badly, because you really don't want to take away the aggressive edge that a lot of players have, which is the constant look for playmaking. And yes, sometimes they go poorly, but if the odds are in your favor, you take them all the way and just improve the times where they're not as likely to go in your favor.
All right, well, top lane going to be pressure here for Fake God, already level 6, going to force Revenge away as Dardoch is here as well, but Revenge isn't even interested in fighting the Renekton because he probably suspects the jungler is here, which is a good assessment. And without being 6, almost there, is going to be close after that minion dies, but it's going to have to get back in XP range, which is taking a little longer than he likes, and thankfully for him, Dardoch is gone, and he is going to hit 6 and be A-okay.
That's all the aftermath of that play topside, which really hurt him because he's really far back in CS, and Fake God still has flash, so the opportunity to gank him is kind of faded at level 6. You'll be able to maybe lock him down, but I think Dig will be able to find something else on the map. Hecarim is level 6, though. So now my eyes are on Dardoch and what he is up to, because he's been trying to be fairly active already. Was on 2 plays, a little bit late. The first one it worked out, but this time around, though, third time could be the charm, since the bottom lane has been such a focal point for this game.
Yeah, Neo got his summoners back though, so should be A-okay. Raze doesn't have his back yet, so I don't think IMT are going to get any more aggressive. Just happy to take the lead they've got. I mean, that early Noon Quiver is just giving them a big CS lead. I mean, Tristana's not particularly good at holding waves, but Raze is trying to do what he can here and deny as many minions as he can, as Destiny just continues to find potential engage. But Afro, we're going to look for the counter engage, but I don't think he either had Pulve or used Pulve there, because Destiny did not get stunned at the end of it. Still kicks away the Rel, make sure they can stay somewhat safe, but that explosive shot doing a little too much damage in the trade as Dig are just going to have to let the wave crash and farm it up under the tower.
You see what I'm saying, though? This is a really aggressive bottom. If they're going in on cooldown, what often happens is the support will just say, listen, this guy is using his defensive move on cooldown. Just jump in. Come to this lane, jungler, please. It's a good kill. So Hecarim wasn't there. They didn't really suspect that he was there. I think he might have been spotted from that blue ward at the blue buff, the control ward, but other than that, they had no other knowledge of Dardoch.
And I kind of like this, actually. Destiny took a recall as roaming top lane, and Raze actually just juked back into the fog of war. Looked like he was basing with his laner. And actually he's going to pick up the wave back here as Kai'Sa has taken that reset. So going to mow down this wave. Probably not going to do tower damage, even though Trist alone in a lane tends to lead to plates being felled. But Destiny going to try and find the play here. It's mid lane that he wants to look for. Saliga already used the bubble. Afro's here as well, though. The support timing is very interesting. And both will walk away there. But Afro certainly reading that play nicely. Does go roaming mid and actually force a flash out as well from Insanity.
Good to see supports match each other on the roams to the other lanes, because it feels so bad as a laner when your support is not there and the enemy is just harassing you and you're losing lane because of it. So Afro being there, turning things around for Saliga is a big move that allows him to now transition into a Rift Herald for pretty much free. I don't think that IMT will be able to contest this. They're all shoved in. Jungler has base. Tristana is not even in the lane just yet. So it's a free dragon just because Afro was there to counter it, to make sure that they had to reset off that. And that's a pretty nice pickup that didn't really cost much.
Yeah, fake good pressure looking real nice there. Keeping Camille out, potentially joining the fight, so IMT aren't even interested in contesting. I'll give it over as Dardoch does indeed slay the Rift Herald. Revenge going to take away the Blast Cone, but he's getting pushed in once again. Dardoch could dive here, but he's probably at least going to drop the Herald just for the plates here. We'll see if he sets up the dive first, though. Fake God threatening, and Revenge knows that this is a possibility, so he's just going to run away, and that gives Fake God all this time to take more plates, but Dardoch not going to use the Herald just yet here as IMT do trade on the bottom side and take this dragon.
But they're happy to give this trade. It's only the first dragon 10 minutes into the game, so already quite late if IMT wants to stack dragons. And you know that the Camille will have to be important either in the side lanes 1v1s or in the team fight. And if she's not fed, the team fight's really not looking too good besides an ultimate and maybe a stun. And now the side lane is definitely not a place where she can win, because Fake God is so far ahead of her with this turret, with the Herald, and the first kill that he didn't dive to. So this is going to be really tricky to see how Revenge navigates this champion from a deficit. He's very experienced on this, but so many times we see Camille's just completely flop when they get camped, and we'll see what Revenge can do.
Oh
he has a lot of solo experience.
goodness. So I had to figure out where Revenge was, and I figured he'd be in the top half, and he's not. Raze was ahead on gold in this game. Now Fake God is right up there at 4,800, the richest person in the game. That's like 1,000 gold ahead of Revenge already, which is quite a lot. Actually, no, it's more. It's 2,000. I knew I saw it correctly the first time. Yeah,
it's two giant belts. It's 2 giant belts. That's a lot of health. I mean, he's not spending it on that, but he has his completed core drinker already at 11 minutes, so he is in a very top shape. And Fake God has been quietly pretty good, too. I like that they have consistently given him champions that are both carries when he can play them, when it looks like a good time, and when it's not, well, put him on some tank duty or a Gnar, and he's been doing well on that, too. They kind of fit the same wheelhouse of bruiser and simultaneous engage tank. So I think that Fake God has been another Academy into LCS player that has quietly improved as they just get more experience and become wiser as they age. So many of these guys entered the league when they were really young. I mean, 18 years old, you really change a lot when you turn maybe 23.
Yeah, for sure. And you've had, years of competitive league experience under your belt. Turns out things are different there. Afro tries to catch Raze, but a great buffer of the rocket jump is going to keep him safe. This does mean Destiny is on the roam, actually towards the top half of the map right now, so not a bad lane to try and affect, because Revenge does need help here in the 1v1, because if this continues, Fake God's just going to get further and further ahead, as we've already seen from the gold lead we displayed earlier. In fact, most of that gold lead that Fake God has is basically the gold lead Dignitas currently have. That's not even the whole gold lead they have, because Raze is so rich. Already has the Kraken Slayer finished, but Dardoch trying to find somebody, but does not pressure further into the enemy jungle, as Destiny is currently tethered to Xerxes.
Dardoch is pretty fed too. He's got the Divine Sunder completed. He's just looking for a fight. So many times when you have this first completed item and the enemy has nothing, you just go into the jungle and you just look for a fight. You're just like, all right, who wants to fight? I'll take you on. I have an item. You don't. Bring it on. My team will back me up, because you have Fake God with the teleport as well if you really need some backup. And And really not going to catch him, though. He has ultimate if you really need it.
Fancy footwork here, but Soligo looks for the bubble. Destiny going to be forced to flash away. So the attempt to engage is dodged by Dardoch, and he holds onto the ulti as a result.
Those are the moments where you're really not going to catch Dardoch unless he wants to get caught. If Dardoch just randomly thinks, oh, I can fight a Rel, great, I've been aching to fight all game long with my Divine Sunder, I'm going to commit to this, then yeah, maybe you can kill him. But if he's just playing defensively, there is no way you're actually going to catch the heck of him out. And so they lose a big flash for that. The Rel ultimate, part of the Rel flash, is really key if you're trying to start a dragon fight, and it will be relevant in this next minute.
Oh, Afro. Hex flash, Soligo flash bubble, barely misses it, but the pole is there. The combo is good, and Neo is going to take down Xerxes.
Beautiful collapse there. You see a deer in the river, instantly clap him, and the flash was really not hesitating. So let's see. I like this move from the observers, giving us vision, because only now do they see him, and how quickly do they jump onto him? Very quickly. Hex flash into combo.
And again, like Soligo, even there with the extra flash he had, looks for the extension, doesn't get it, but that gives Afro all the space he needs to set up that combo. So someone was going to get it, whether it was the Alistar CC or the Zoe bubble, but that's a very dead Xerxes, and thankfully for him, there's no dragon up, so not going to lose that here as Dignitas. Just going to try and consolidate some of that power up towards this top half of the map. Do still have Fake God to lean on here. Is again very far ahead in his 1v1.
I think Xerxes went in there because you have flash, you have your boots, you're really mobile, and if you could have secured that crab, you could have set yourself up for that dragon that they want. It's in 30 seconds, so I think he thought that worst case scenario, he flashes out, still gets the crab and sets the team up for the dragon fight, but now they don't get any of that. So I think Dignitas with this crab will feel confident if they want to take a fight here, or at least stop IMT from trying to do this. They're not under any pressure because of how late the stacking will be. So as long as they have vision, I think they'll continue to just give farm to Fake God and look for more opportunities where IMT members are caught out. First it was Destiny, now it's Cersei.
Hate to see it throw crumbs. Crustacean Greed claims another jungler out on the Rift. I mean, they love those Scuttle Crabs, let me tell you. I don't play jungle, it's too hard, but well, every time I hear anything from a jungler, it's about how much they love taking the Scuttle Crab. So I get it, drawn to it. Does not pull off there for Xerxes. Dignitas find the punish. Now getting that vision around here as Afram is doing the sweeping. And Dardoch, they're onto the dragon. Nice and quickly here as Dignitas know they've got plenty of control over the map. Fake God, of course, is already down to the mid lane because he has permanent prior really at this point in the game. And perhaps for quite a lot longer depending on how the scales of the matchup tip. So Dignitas grab the dragon nice and easily, and then back to farming as usual.
A big part of the prio that Soligo has in the mid lane comes from Fake God. There's no top lane turret. There's a Renekton that has been practically living rent-free in your blue side jungle for the past 7 minutes. So seeing that a Renekton could possibly collapse with a full Gore Drinker at any moment on the back of Insanity makes it really scary to push up against a Zoe who already has a natural, easy time pushing you in. So I think that I respect that Insanity has been quietly taking these waves and making sure that he doesn't present a target for Dignitas to dive.
I like that idea, though. You know, he's just been in there for so long that maybe you forget, think it's your jungler. That's how long Renekton's just been hanging out on the blue side.
It happens.
All right, well, Revenge again. He's trying to hold the waves and do what he can. Raze, though, is going to take a turret down. So things are going well for the bottom side of the map, which is good for IMT. Gold pretty even as well as Fake God. Is he just solo diving? No, he's not. But he thought about it. Does have the ulti ready to go, but Revenge has flash and ulti as well. So probably not something you want to commit to. Good bit of poke, though. Spins the Koldameek around. Dardoch is busy taking the Grump, which is why they're not diving. Also, they can't see anyone else. And as we know, Destiny was making his way uptown to try and help Revenge if something was going to happen. But that is going to force a recall, which is going to give Fake God some time on the tower. But they're not going to take it because I think they want to line up this dive in mid instead.
Yeah, they're looking for it, but it's really unlikely because of how little vision they have in the red side of IMT. You don't actually know if Rel was going to be able to pop up from nowhere or the Lilia would just appear and throw a bowling ball and ruin your plans. So going for those early dives can be a problem for a lot of teams that are just thinking of accelerating the pace of the game without really going over all the steps necessary to make sure that nothing goes terribly wrong. So seeing that there is too many people MIA, makes it unnecessary to go for that. You just let everybody get on the map. You have a guaranteed way to pressure on this map through the top side. So as long as you can continue to use that like we saw in the tier 2 top side, then I think Dignitas will feel a lot more at ease going into the river, finding the vision, and looking for more ways where IMT will be caught by themselves.
Seems like Soligo is going to be doing the Horizon focus second, as we did see in our last Zoe game, so perhaps that's the thing that's pushing Zoe back towards the meta. Again, very good item on her, just makes so much sense with how her kit wants to operate naturally, as Dardoch is just galloping around the river, going through mid, is over a ward, but wants to set up here and just see what happens. Fake God is busy trying to 1v1 Revenge. Revenge does have his Trinity Force finish now, though, to take a stop off at Executioner's Calling, but is able to fight much better against Renekton, although I don't think I'd call it winning just yet. Dardoch, though, threatening raise, but Rock jumps out, and the red buff does indeed go to the Tristana. But Dignitas is pressuring in, getting this vision down, trying to open up space, because they just need a little bit of extra room here on one side of the map. And if Fago can finish off this tower, or at least get a lot of damage done, then it's going to make their next attempt at this dragon that much easier. As Fake God looks like he will be able to finish this off, because that cannon creep is doing a lot of work here.
Yeah, and just because Revenge was able to hit some damage onto Fake God is not even close to him winning this matchup again, because one has an ultimate that is very relevant in a 1v1, and the other one, not really. Camille's ultimate in a 1v1 is if you're already so far ahead that the enemy cannot get away from you, but against Renekton, it really won't do anything at this time. So Fake God still having so much pressure in this matchup, and I like that Hecarim was there, backing him up just in case anything happens. And it's Dig playing calm and collected, but they're going to have to do a little bit more than this. Eventually, the Renekton will start to struggle, and Camille will come back. So I need to see that mid lane turret be cracked. That's the big one. You have the Rift Herald from Dardoch, and I suspect it'll be popped in the mid lane to set up for this dragon fight.
Well, Ray's already finished with the Phantom Dancer as well, so got a lot of attack speed. Ready to go behind this Kraken Slayer there. So Tristana is the big piece here for IMT, as this gold is even really between the two sides. Dignitas are up 1,000 gold, but the Dragons are split. And with a tower lead, that's kind of the whole gold lead now for Dig, even though like the gold as it's distributed between the matchups will be different, given how the lanes have gone. Overall, especially in the 5v5, it's going to feel much more even there, as Destiny eats a big paddle star there from Soligo, as Horizon Focus is indeed done, contributing quite a lot there to Destiny's health bar.
I'm a big fan of poking out the engage supports. Rel now, she's Chunk. How is she going to find an engage without dying right away? So if Soligo just constantly picks on her, IMT doesn't really have a way to start a fight that isn't counting on Dig really being out of position. So I think that as long as they keep tabs on Destiny, whether it's Soliga poking or Aphromu chunking and zoning her away, IMT will have a really hard time getting these fights, and a lot of it will have to come down to Raze, not only dealing with the engage fairly well, but resetting and moving forward.
Yeah, the thing about Rel, I think as players are like adjusted to her, they were like, man, her engage is so good. How do we possibly stop this? And I think like initially I was like, this seems like old Rakano. That's so stupid. And then the more I see Rel, I'm like, huh. There's like a lot of counterplay with CC just because of like how much startup she has on kind of crashing in and popping the ultis. So I feel like when Rel finds her engage angles, it's like disgusting. Like you can just 1v5 a team fight set up for the rest of your team. But when you can't get it done, especially as teams have adjusted more to her and maybe pick supports or champions around finding some more counterplay against Rel, it's kind of nice to see her not getting banned every game, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I think she creates such great gameplay moments. Dignitas up 2 dragons, up gold still. Call it about 1,500 Asterix gauges finish for Fake God, but it'll be nice and slow here between these two teams. Again, still those mid towers to work on kind of being the big difference, although as I say that Dignitas have taken that down already. So IMT just feeling a little on the back foot here as Moonstone Renewer is on the way for Xerxes.
Yeah, they definitely feel like they are just they're unable to get the lane setups that they want to be able to pressure constantly. They're getting farm in their Orianna and Tristana, which is really good though, because they are very far ahead of Neo and Soligo farm-wise, right? It's about 30 over everybody, so it's good that they're getting this farm, and I think that's why they're feeling like, okay, well, they're not really doing much with Fake God's advantage against Revenge. Revenge is continuing to get farm, keeping it at that same 30 distance. So with the Orianna and the Tristana getting more gold, that is how you'll win a fight. So the Camille, yeah, lost the early game, but if you can count on a Tristana and Ori late game, then you're totally fine sacking Camille, because you're going to be dealing with a Renekton, which will be a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah, as long as Revenge, keeps upping gold somewhat, still going to be relevant, right? As Camille picks up items.
Oh,
so
no.
Soligo here, oh, that's such a fancy bubble angle. Does get the damage down. Oh, what a pop there. Neo going to take out Destiny. And now here comes Dardoch over the top. Finds 2 with the Onslaught of Shadows, but Raze, crucially, has already buffered out with the Rocket Jump, and Revenge will not eat the follow-up bubble, so it is just 1 pick, but it was a nice one from Dignitas.
Removing the Rel right again. You see the engage, and once she dies, there's no way that they...
Look at this angle.
Fight. Yeah, so you didn't even know that's illegal, right? He hops into the other brush. He's like, where is this bubble coming from? He has no idea what hit him, just woke up from a nightmare. And I really like this move out of Dardoch there to actually just run back out. So many times we see Hecarim's just ult in and then realize, oh, I'm already in. I might as well just use my charge to commit myself further. But if you do that, then you don't have a way out. So he says, all right, I tried. It wasn't that good. I'm man enough to admit that I made a mistake. I can walk out of this one and try again.
Yeah, definitely aware of some pretty famous moments of Hecarim's just going in a little too far. But Revenge, again, just doing what he can, picking up the farm. Verizon focus is now done for Soligo. I misspoke earlier. It was simply Hextech Alternator. They got a little bit of extra damage in and went off cooldown.
Right.
Again, Dignitas feeling pretty happy just to play the game as it is. They're happy with their combos. They know if they get vision, which they've been pretty good at doing, that Soligo is going to keep them out of most situations. In fact, going to force Raze to rocket jump out there as he did not finish off that ward in the back of the pit.
It's a good bubble. Good bubble to defend this Baron. Makes it really difficult since so many champions are melee or need to be at the wave. So Triss and Ori pretty much have to be at the wave. Rel can't walk up to that. Neither can Camila, and Xerxes to commit to that would be really risky as well. We saw how quickly Dignitas collapses on the Lilia when they saw her in the river. So that ward might just live for quite some time. And that's another advantage of just having ranged champions. It's a lot easier to clear some wards where if the enemy has abilities to go over the walls and hit you with their spells, then you don't actually have a way of clearing something without getting incredibly chunked. And now Dig is going for a uncontested blue side invade, which could net them a Baron if IMT just refuses to acknowledge that they're on this side of the map.
I mean, if they knew, they might start it at least.
Right.
Just force a response and perhaps get a fight going. But unfortunately, unlike us, or I guess fortunately, the game would be kind of weird if they did. Could see as much of the map as we could. Dignitas are going to take a recall instead. And I think kind of what you alluded to earlier, Crumbs, IMT also kind of happy to play it slow because they're just leaning on this Tristana. Like, Raze is not that far from Infinity Edge being done. And like right now, yeah, they both have 2 items, the Kai'Sa versus the Trist. Trist item's quite a bit more expensive. So Raze is going to be super powered once he hits that 3-item spike, which is so common. We talk about these longer range, later game ADCs. So been a good start there with the laning phase, kept up the farm, actually very far ahead on farm still up against Neo. And now IMT perhaps closing the trap here. Soligo going to be the target, but will not get bowling balled here as Revenge going to have to hook shot away.
Ooh, okay, that bubble is going to keep a few people away. Really good zoning, but Dig does not get much from it. There's still no control word on the pit, but the sleep goes out on Soligo.
Going for Zoe, just a one-man sleep. Maybe thought they had more Destiny. They're going to go in. The Magnet Storm is there. The Shockwave is good for 2. And now they're going to dive in on top of them as Raze is on a killing spree, but Fake God trying to tie them up as Raze is still alive. That's the important one here, but IMT needs to keep fighting there as Raze is trying to cope, but the rest of Dignitas are going to collapse. And now Xerxes put to sleep and going to die almost before the CC landed as Soligo is going to finish off the kill he absolutely set up. And Dignitas, what a win there outside the Drake pit.
They see a one-man sleep on the Zoe and instantly are very happy to take that fight. Without that sleep, as long as Rail does not get the engage up, there's just nothing that IMT can do to lock down the important members. So the engage goes down onto the Renekton and the Hecarim, which are really not the targets you want. That puts Neo and Soligo at free reign in the backline, and still the focus fire on the carries is on the Renekton, who is so tanky. He was the most fed member this game. Barely was he able to stay alive with that Gore Drinker. Maybe a few more autos would have done the trick. Maybe a few more crits, but at the end of the day, focusing, not the carries, not the plan, not the best plan when it's a 5v5.
Now rushes straight to the Baron. Digger gonna get it here. Dardoch's like literally not even there. He's gonna walk up to smite it right at the end. But I guess he gets credit for participating there as Dig grabbed the Red Bull Baron buff. It just goes to show how strong they felt after that team fight win. They got both big objectives out of the river. And now, all of a sudden, a game that was pretty close in goal between the two teams has skyrocketed in favor of Dignitas.
Oh, yeah, and it's good to see that they are taking so much more on the map, just immediately recognizing, yeah, we can do this. We don't even need the smite right there. We know that IMT is not going to make it on time, and even if they did, they don't have a chance to actually safely make it into the pit for a steal. There's no crazy spells that can hit across the map to also take that away from them, so it's a really nice dig Baron that now is going to be really difficult to deal with because, again, it's a side lane that you cannot deal with on the side of IMT. Fake God's still bullying out Revenge. It'll be even harder this time around to pick him with that stopwatch. So 1-3-1 seems to be the name of the game for now, although Soligo and...
Oh, that's very clever. Barrier here for Soligo might not be enough, but the TP's coming in. 3 already for Immortals. Up here, into the stopwatch they go. Fake God's here, Dardock's here, and they are going to turn around. Soligo magics his way out of the situation, kills Xerxes before dying, and now it's a 2v3, but the rest of the squad is coming up as Neo yeets in there onto Insanity, going to take him out, and now Dardock gets the ulti down, and Revenge is forced to counter ult, but it's just going to trap him with the rest of Dignitas. A double kill for Neo, gonna make it 3 as he nabs the triple kill, and Dignitas are just snowballing all over IMT.
They do not let any man be fought without their help. They will help Soligo. They will travel across the map to join these fights. And now with Neo being here and Renekton being this fed, we might see them try to end this game. If Afro can combo one of these members out, they won't live to tell the tale. I think they have done it.
They're going to go for it here. I mean, 20 seconds for 3 of them to come up here. There's so much time for Dignitas with this Baron buff to take down the Nexus. And already Afro's going in. He's CCing people up. The Nexus is now exposed for Dignitas to claim. And they will, in very speedy fashion, close out the day in under 30 minutes.
That was a really clean game out of Dignitas. Good map control, strong team fighting. They knew where they're going. We see smiles on the faces of the cameras. That's the big sign, Pastry. That's a big sign after a win. If teams are sad, you know it was a sloppy game. But when you're smiling after a win, you know that you did what you practiced, that everything went according to plan, and you see it right there. 5 big, bright smiles.
I mean, maybe not everything, right? Like 2v2 went so well in the bottom side for IMT, and Neo and Afro have actually been really good. Maybe not as good as the best bot lanes, but have been very competitive, very aggressive, which has been really fun to see. And they just kind of like took it in their stride, like, okay, we lost. Like, we maybe shouldn't have got killed there twice in about 4 minutes, but they knew Fake God had the lead. They're happy to lean on their mid game, and even though things kind of delayed a little bit in the middle section of that game, once they had a lead big enough to grab that Baron, they just won.
They made no major plays that would have been those drastic mistakes that we have seen from teams in the lower standings that have gotten to winning positions and then make one giant move where they lose. They never went for those giant moves. Everything felt very calculated. Even that last fight, they didn't start that. They were setting up the 1-3-1. It was IMT that looked for a play, and it was their quickness to respond to it that actually won them the game.
I think you noted it in that last fight around Dragon where you said, like, just look how tanky Fake God is. Raze didn't have Infinity Edge for that fight. That, for me, was like the missing piece to get enough damage to kill Renekton, and then I think you can reset and win the rest of the fight, and the game might look quite different. But he got AA after that, and then just never got to use it. There was no team fight where Tristan was autoing that much ever again.
It kind of sucks. You have all the items, but no one to hit, and then when you finally complete it, the game's over. You don't even have an instance in Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, tough stuff there, but Dig improved to 7-3. Only 3 losses in, losing to pretty good teams overall, but we are going to move on. Very quick commercial to close out the day.
Welcome back to the LCS. We are following up on another victory for Dignitas, and this time we are joined by Fake God for the Verizon post-game interview. I've got to ask you, so many people have been talking up the young solo laners of Dignitas, really showing out consistently here. How would you evaluate your own individual level of play so far throughout the season and just the impact of the solo laners on Dig in general?
I think right now, I could be playing better because I think there are a lot of mistakes that I'm still doing that are like kind of strange and can flip the game. Like this game, it wasn't flipped, but the early lane was like very rough for me this game, and that was a very dangerous situation if Dardoch didn't sweep in to help me. So like stuff like that, I still need to work through, I guess. But I think right now I'm definitely like not one of the worst top laners in LCS. Maybe around the middle. And what was,
From what I've heard,
I forgot the second part of the question.
Nah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to hear
Oh,
about
okay.
you and your role here in the solo lane. Totally cool. And you actually mentioned right now Dardoch coming in, able to alleviate some of the pressure and get you that lead. Aftermoo had mentioned in his Player of the Week interview how Dardoch has been able to bring his very clear desire to the solo lanes, but specifically spending a lot of time top. Why is Dignitas making that choice to put some resources up in your lane?
I'd say it's because as a team, we want to be more flexible with how we can approach the game because we don't want to be like just a one-dimensional team that just has a safe side top and only plays the bot side. So we're trying to explore different strategies right now, and one of them is definitely playing the top lane and making that a win con itself.
When I'm hearing you speak about your own play and the team as a whole, it's very much in line with what say about a lot of the members of Dignitas, hungry to grow, learn more, improve on their individual skill and the team level. But the fact is, at 7-3, you are a top team right now in heavy contention. So when thinking about the team as a whole and how you are against other heavy hitters, do you feel like Dignitas is one of those ones that's gunning for the top right now?
Yeah, actually right now, I think we should be considered one of the top teams because we're just winning a lot of games and a lot of the games are looking really good, but for some reason we're not, which I mean, I think it's fine because it lessens some of the pressure on us, but it's just very weird when it's like, oh, okay, they're with the top teams, but they're not actually a top team. I mean, it's fine by me. It's just like, okay, we can just keep playing like how we normally do, and then we'll just keep winning.
Yeah, you're saying that's fine because it alleviates some of the pressure, but does that ever get under the skin of yourself or any of your teammates that there does seem to be a bit of this disparity where not everyone is ready yet to call Dignitas a very clear top team?
I mean, it doesn't really matter for us. I mean, we just see it as like just community opinion. It's like, okay, well, they still don't think we're good. All right, whatever. Let's keep playing, and then, maybe when we keep winning, then they'll think we're good. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. We're just gonna still play, no matter what the community thinks of us. That's all.
Well, wins like this and the other ones that you're getting, I'm sure there are a lot that are flowing over to the Dignitas side, praising you all for the run that you have been making thus far. You are going to be facing off against 100 Thieves next. You have some experience over on that side. They themselves consider themselves championship contenders here. How do you think you're going to fare against that team? And then, of course, someday in the top lane.
I think we will do well against them, and I think I'll hold my own against someday. I mean, I don't know what else I would say. Oh, somebody's gonna destroy me. No, I'm not gonna say that.
Well, I know we're also looking forward to seeing you hold your own. It should be a great match, Fake God. Thank you for speaking with me.
Yeah, thank you.
What a great interview for us to round out the day, and let's continue to round out the day on the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, La Tigress. Dignitas, they continue to impress, now moving to 7-3 in a very quick win. But admittedly, Emily, this one was a bit of a recovery from a very early misstep in the 2v2 in the bot lane.
Yeah, so stepped a little too far forward, but level 1, and that is what happens sometimes, I guess. But I wanted to bring up something that Fake God actually brought up in the interview, is that they were going to focus on top side, and hey, that's kind of what ended up happening because IMT did have so much prio on the bot side of the map. they did focus on topside. Here Revenge thinks that he is going to be able to go in and kill Fake God, and he would be able to, and he actually knows that Xerxes is coming too. But Dardoch is already up here, and this kind of sets the tone for this lane going forward. We then get to the point where, they're trading cross map, so IMT picks up Drake. The Dignitas is able to get the tower with Herald here. It's very typical cross-map trading, but the end result was that you get to a point in these mid-game team fights and no one can kill Fake God. And it actually did make a huge difference in when they did end up fighting IMT, and Fake God is just this kind of unkillable crocodile in the mid-game.
Yeah, and so they did play around what they planned for before the game too, and it was also, in my opinion, the correct choice because they did get counterpick here. They picked the Renekton into the Camille, and that is a very difficult matchup for Camille, although in the early game, Revenge was playing it very well. He actually chunked Revenge out early on very hard, but he did do that little overreach, which was amazing for Dignitas because they got that return kill, which meant for the rest of the lane phase, Camille started getting zoned off the waves. And we saw that when Dardoch even kind of faked top a little bit, and Camille just had to sprint off with just nothing to do, because if he stayed under that turret, it was a free dive. So after that, Rift Herald on the tower, a lot of gold goes to Renekton. Unkillable this game. We saw maybe an Oriole hit him once, barely did any damage, and even the Tristana is very hard for her to do damage to Renekton, and it was honestly one of the best topside Renekton plays that we've seen this season. I think that a lot of teams don't always play correctly around Renekton, and I'm glad that Dignitas played around their condition very well.
Yeah, I think overall, this was a pretty solid game from Dignitas. I know we didn't show it on screen, but some of the mistakes in the bot lane, but I think the way they stabilized was pretty good, and it was a more controlled game out of Dardoch than some of the other ones that we had seen before. And the fact that once they found their footing in the game, you saw that gold lead spike. This is something that we had kind of been talking about in comparison to 100 Thieves previously and some of the other teams where when they get leads, they really struggle to close it out, whether that's Golden Guardian, CLG. There's a number of teams in the league that this applies to, and I think that's one of the reasons that Dignitas is so high in the standings right now, because they legitimately have better mid-game and the ability to close games out than a lot of other teams below them in the standings.
Yeah, this game ended sub-30 off of the back of a Baron 1-1 team fight, and then boom, they decide to end it. So exactly to your point, maybe a number of other teams take that top inhib, choose to back, which would be the safer and more methodical approach.
Get the soul, get the...
But I think that this speaks to, what we talk about when we talk about the absolute top teams, not just in this region, but around the world, is they are willing, to pull the trigger when they see that opening and shut the game out in exactly that moment.
In addition to that, I actually think this is a really good move for Dignitas with how quickly they decided to close it out because of where they chose to focus. I've kind of been really critical of a lot of North American teams' side lane play, and I'm not really going to call it out here either, but then also an inability to take topside specific priority and transfer it to the rest of the map. Well, Dignitas played this really well, right? Like, they have a very strong Renekton off of the moves they made topside. As soon as they get Baron, they end up closing it out, because if the game hangs out for a bit longer, then IMT start to scale a bit more. They can get back into this game pretty easily. So I think it was also just a really good move to make those proactive plays and go for ending the game.
All in all, a very impressive game out of Dignitas, and while not needing a discussion about it, this is where I will actually re-hit something that Spawn had said, where he highlighted the other day kind of the lifetimes of players and how sometimes, off of a single split or a single year on the outset of their careers, some players can be condemned to never being successful. And Fake God Soligo, two of the targets a while back for not being necessarily top in their role, are now performing here on Dignitas. And, it makes me excited and happy more than ever to see that kind of development, as well as the personality, the budding personality of players like Fake God in the interviews to follow. But as we close out the day, we as a desk and as the board of McDonald's, we wanted to take a moment and thank you all for the wonderful ideas that you submitted earlier in the day on Twitter. Here are just a few tweets that we think will be making it onto the menu. So first up, coming from our very own Coco the Dragon, who's casted for us on the Academy League. Kudos to the Mark Z on debuting his new McDonald's. I'm excited for to dig in, on the 2-for-1 Baron Tossed Hot Wings, an absolute steal. I mean, look, to me, that perfectly summarized the complete turnaround that the organization Dignitas has made from, you know, barren and objective memes in the past to now being one of the top teams in the league, partly because of their ability to play around the global objectives. Not to be outdone, though, we got Alligator IRL. Don't know how he uses a phone then to tweet, but the TSM meal, the meal that you got that one time, it was great. So you go back and get it again, only this time it doesn't taste as good as you remember, so you keep going back hoping it'll be as good as the first time, but it never is.
Oh, come on. TSM are doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, what?
They won a split.
I don't like this meal.
They won the last split.
I like
okay,
this.
well, so here's maybe the thing is, I think that this tweet holds true for a TSM prior to essentially maybe the 2020 year, where they kind of redeemed themselves, grabbing the title back, and now have gone through an entire reworking of their roster. It is no longer Bjergsen, you know, the Bjergsen and Forwards meme, which
It's like when they changed the whole recipe. It's just not the same.
Right. Oh, there you go. It is a totally different burger, but it's just...
It's called
not the same.
We're just going to ignore Worlds last year. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Well, international. Now, this is just a domestic menu, Emily. This is just a domestic menu. We're not talking about Mark Donald's rather on the international stage.
International chain yet.
Yeah.
We haven't gone international.
It's a totally different.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Then I'm worried about the TSMs.
Brought the chain across the sea yet.
All right, let's go ahead and start wrapping up our day with some standings. We got Cloud9 still standing alone in first place at 8-2. They're followed, of course, by 100 Thieves, Dignitas, and TSM tied for second at 7-3. Evil Geniuses are right behind them at 6-4. Team Liquid, they're at sixth with a 5-5 record, being knocked down to that 500 mark. Looking ahead, though, at tomorrow's matches, Team Liquid and FlyQuest are facing off in the hunt for their first win of the weekend. That match, of course, is followed by Cloud9 taking on Evil Geniuses. Dignitas facing 100 Thieves in a potential tiebreaker for second, with two more before we finish out our Saturday. I mean, tiebreaker for second sounds pretty damn exciting to me. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, that middle of the day is looking really good.
Yes.
I would have been worried if any of you said no. So thank you for that.
We agree.
The chorus of yeses. In general, maybe I'll just direct this to you, Alorm. Back half of the split when teams are thinking about playoffs, and maybe you can speak to some of the mindset changes as well as rematches. What do you want to see out of teams more specifically on the back half as compared to the front half of the split, where maybe we want to see a little bit more flexibility, creativity, and ingenuity?
Just every draft has to have engage. I know when I was on Immortals and we were just desperate for wins, it's like, all right, we got to have multiple forms of engage, because in this latter half, a lot of the time it is just who happens to be team fighting better. Of course, macro comes into play, but you know, we've had some scrappy games, some sloppy games. Sometimes you can just get a win off of a really good engage that a team is not inspecting. So if you have multiple forms of engage, it's really helpful for the teams that need those wins, that maybe they can pick them up from just like some kind of out of nowhere, just team fight win from a really good engage from their top laner or their support. So every draft, got to have engage.
I mean, if today isn't proof of that, I don't know what would be, with a number of our games going late and being determined by a single team fight. That is going to do it for us here, though, tonight. So on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more LCS. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and be good to each other. All right, good night.